I see it. Okay.
Okay, so we're recording now. Just to introduce, my name is Jim Watley. I'm the broker owner of Uber Realty, and the first guest for this is Molly Dodd. And if it goes well, we might continue it. If it doesn't, it just might end up on the scrap heap, and nobody will ever see it, and nobody will ever care. But that's life, and this is the way it is. So. Um, Molly and her husband, Guy, recently bought a house in Nutley, New Jersey. And to let everybody know, I've known Molly since the day she was born. She is my niece through my wife's sister, and she is her. Jerry was her mother, and Molly was the firstborn and the firstborn grandchild in the family. So Molly did get a little bit of attention. And so I've known Molly since I could pick her up. So that's enough of that. So tell me the first thing why you decided to buy a home. And you are in the home that you bought.
Yes, I'm in the home we bought just about a month and a half ago. And previously, I had been renting since 2013 in this area. And we decided to buy a home because we felt like we were paying so much in rent. We were paying about $3,500 a month in rent. And we felt like a mortgage would be comparable. I don't think we really knew what we were getting ourselves into when we started looking to buy a house. But
Uh-huh.
that is why we decided, because our rent was so high. And we thought, why don't we start paying ourselves?
Yeah. So, okay. And the first thing I would say, and the reason I'm going to ask is just because I'm coming at it and from a different perspective, is how did you choose the realtor you use? That's the first question. How did you choose that realtor?
It's a great question. I actually chose her because she helped me with a rental back in 2013 when I first moved here. 2013, 2014. So it had been almost 10 years since we worked together. And I'm glad she was still working. And because she was, I said, why don't we reopen this relationship? And she, I chose her because of a family connection, I guess would be the proper answer. I found her through a family member who used her.
Well, well, this is probably a good thing that she was still in the business, because half of the people who get into real estate are out of the business within the first 2 years. And then within 5 years, 87% of the people are out of the business that start in the business. So it's a meat grinder. People don't understand that. And typically this is my 18th year, and the first question I get is a text or a call. Are you still in the business? It's like, yeah, I have no plans of leaving, but you
Right.
know what I mean? I guess they have seen significant numbers of people come and go and do that. So the next question I would have is, what was probably, and it's probably not going to go through the questions I sent you. It's going to, I'm
Okay.
just making them up as we go.
I love it.
Is what is the biggest surprise that you got when you first started? What was the most unexpected thing that happened?
The most unexpected thing, I think, was realizing how much more we had to bid over the asking price. When you go to the store and you see something for sale, like a bag of apples for $4.99, you know what you're paying when you get to the register. You know it's not going to go up. If anything, it's going to go down if you have a coupon or something. That's
Mhm.
our expectation, as that was my expectation as a consumer. So when I saw a house listed for 550,000, I thought, great, that's perfect, And then when we went to our realtor and said, okay, we want to offer 550, she said, you're not getting that house. And she was right, because we made that mistake. We offered at ask for probably 9 homes before we purchased this home.
Uh-huh.
And so that was the biggest shock to me, is how competitive the market is right now.
So why didn't you believe her in the beginning?
I don't think I wanted to. I think I wanted to think that my best was enough because it's a very emotional experience buying a home because you're liquidating sometimes liquidating your savings, especially as a millennial. I'm 34 years old. I All the money I have went into my down payment for this house. So it was very emotional for me and I didn't want to think that she was right even though I I'm not the expert. But I want my money is my money, like we all like it was just so emotional for me.
Yeah, I look, it would now, I guess the question I would ask from that was she emotional when you dealt with her, or it sounded like she was patient and let you make the mistakes that you had to make to get to the point where then you were able to buy a house.
She
Be,
did.
yeah, you had to go. It's an emotional journey that you have to go on, and I always tell people sometimes you just can't short circuit it.
Yeah. What I really like that she did was when let's say we were looking at a really old house that needed $150,000 worth of work the day we walked into it, if we were to buy it, she and we wanted to offer, let's say it was 500, we wanted to offer 500 because we felt like we needed to put 150 into it. She didn't say, "Oh, I think you need to bid more if you really want it." She would say, "Do you feel like that's your best? Is that your best?" And we would say, "That's our best. We're willing to walk away if we don't get it at this price, because if we bid more and we get it, we're not going to be able to do the work we want to do." So she was very understanding and didn't pressure us, which I think was something that was very attractive to us as first time home buyers. We didn't feel, she would always say, "I hope I'm not pressuring you, into offering on this. Do you really want it?" So we always she would check with us, like gut check, as we
Uh-huh.
went through the process.
Interesting. So this is gonna be out of order, but were you pleased with the process and her?
I was. I feel like she
Well,
introduced
so
us.
give her a plug in case more than
Okay,
just your
sure.
more than just your aunt watches it. You know what I mean? So,
Yes. Deborah DeToli from Living, New Jersey. She and her husband Frank work for this brokerage in
uh-huh,
New Jersey. They were previously at Keller Williams for a long time, and
uh-huh,
now they're with Living, New Jersey. They kind of act as a team, although we didn't really get to work with Frank. Deb is very well connected in this area, and she introduced us to our attorney. She introduced us to our lender. She introduced us to the people who did the floors in our house when we moved in. She's very well connected, and so I felt like her recommendations were. I didn't feel like she was using her people just because she was getting a kickback or something from them. I felt like she was introducing us to professionals who were really qualified.
well, legally, if she were getting a kickback, she would need to have disclosed that,
And
and
I don't think she was.
and she probably didn't get a
No.
kickback, and but when if I were to imagine being in her position, is you want to be very careful about who you recommend, to whom you recommend them, because it is a reflection on you. If I recommend a somebody to redo your floors and it doesn't turn out, that's going to last a long time,
Yeah,
and you're not going to be happy, and I'm probably not going to be happy with what you say about me.
it's
You know
true.
what I mean? So it's a difficult tightrope to continually find somebody that if you recommend them, the people are going to be happy with them.
We had those instances actually throughout the process where, this is jumping ahead a little bit, but our attorney that she recommended was fabulous. But on the day of closing, they didn't send us the amount of money we needed to bring to closing. And they also went on vacation. The attorney went on vacation the day of our closing and didn't tell Deb that they were going out of town. And Deb said, "They always tell me when they're going out of town." And so it was kind of, I think she felt bad. She felt kind of
Mhm.
responsible for the lack of communication between the attorney and her, because we suffered a little bit. It was stressful.
Yeah, and I would say it sounds like, you say she's a teen, but she's married. But it's the thing I like that what you say about her is she was the single point of contact for you through the whole process.
Yes.
And what happens in some large teams is you meet, say, the buyer specialist, and they work with you. And as soon as it goes under contract, you go to like a transaction coordinator or somebody like that. And it seems like you're passed from one person to the next person. And I don't believe that there's a continuity of service other than that's the way they do it. And who do you contact when you have a problem? The biggest thing I see that some people have problems with is they don't know who to call when they have a question, and what do they whom do they call when they have a problem, and that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And the problem with, I would say, from your perspective, that I see is, as a buyer, you don't get questions and opportunity times. You know what I mean? A question usually pops in your head at 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And sometimes people forget that real estate agents and brokers are human beings, and they have dinner, they eat, and they want to watch TV and things like that. And
Yeah.
they're constantly texting or calling or whatever. And it's expected. And it's nice when you get somebody who understands that you're going through a stressful time,
Yes.
and that you're not trying to bug them, but you just don't understand.
Right. Yeah. I felt like Deb had boundaries in her life. She would text me back. If I texted her at dinner time, she'd say, "I'm out to dinner with my family. I'll get back to you in an hour and a half when I'm on my way home." So I felt like her communication was amazing, and that's what made the relationship work so well. And that's what it was. It was a relationship that we had for years in this process. This took
Uh-huh.
us 2 years to get to this point, to get to closing. So she would constantly be understanding when we had to take a break because we got so stressed from the process. And we'd say, "We
Hmm.
need to take a break. We just had to pay this big bill. So we can't look right now. We need a month to recover." She would understand, and she would just keep in touch with us. And she would always text back, always call back, say, "I'm on a trip with my family this weekend. I can't talk right now, but I'll call you as soon as I get home." So that's what I really liked about working with her.
So how were properties presented to you? How did you get notified that a property that is in your price range and in your location, in that might suit you? How are you getting that feed? How are you getting the houses to look at? What was your main driver?
So I was constantly stalking Zillow, and I would send her the listings as soon as I saw them. And she would text me back and say, "I saw this and I thought of you, but I didn't send it to you because, it doesn't have a garage or it's not in the school district you wanted." She would tell me why she didn't send that one to me. I was actually the one driving the listings more than her. It was almost like I got to her faster than she could get to me in some ways. So she barely sent me listings, but I would send it to her and she would call the agent and she would go look at it almost within the hour of me sending it to her. If I felt like it was a good option for us, she would take it seriously and, jump right on it.
Oh, that's good. And it used to be that the real estate agent, real estate broker was the purveyor of the information. Where
Mm.
now with Zillow, Realtor.com, and a host of other syndicated sites, the buyer is looking at them constantly, especially, they're hunting at work, they're hunting at
Yep.
home, you know what I mean?
In
They're
bed at
focused on,
night.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So finding homes is easy but finding the right home is a difficult process where you have to come in and look at, what were the wants, needs, and desires, school districts, the thing. That's where I think a knowledgeable real estate professional comes in, is they understand some of the nuances of a location and some of the homes, and are able to give you information you will never get from Zillow. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and not that Zillow's a bad thing. Zillow does what Zillow does, and you can get good information from Zillow. You can get bad information from Zillow. It just depends on what you do with it.
One thing I found that Deb, the what she provided that you're saying is that half of Nutley is in a flood zone, and Zillow does not tell you that the house is in a flood zone. But she can look on her MLS site, her
Right.
private MLS, and she would text me back and say, "I thought of this one for you, but it's in a flood zone."
What
And
what did she explain to you about a flood zone?
the taxes, and I think that's one of the major things was the taxes and the insurance in the flood zone, or maybe it was just homeowners insurance and not. Maybe it wasn't taxes. I can't quite remember. Maybe you can clarify.
Well, mostly it's you're gonna if it's in depending on the zone that it is in, that's the rate. Any home can get flood insurance. You can buy flood insurance on any home that you want to buy.
Mhm.
Now, there are zones or classifications from FEMA that require you to have flood zone if you're getting a mortgage that is backed by a federal loan, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae. So anybody's going to make you, any loan professionals or company's going to make you get flood insurance if it's in a zone that is likely to flood within a 100-year period or something like that. So that's great information. Flood insurance can be expensive, and it's probably never going to go down.
Right.
So, I think you got a lot of good advice. I think you got somebody that was on top of the situation. It sounds like she was in constant contact with you, never left you hanging. I think that she was understanding what you were looking for, where you were looking for it, and some of the things that you needed in a home, and helped you weed out homes before you actually got in the car and went and looked at them.
Yes.
And because you and Guy are both working, it's not like it's easy for you to go stalk in a neighborhood on a regular basis. And it's crowded where you live. And
Yeah.
it probably takes a significant amount of time to get back and forth. So what one thing would you tell somebody who is looking for a real estate professional and they're the first time home buyer and they have no experience whatsoever? What would be the number one question that you would ask them?
The number one question I would ask is, that's a great question. I think I would want to know if they've worked with people in our situation before, and how they manage I mean, I'll just be honest, how to manage buyers who have anxiety, who are anxious about this process. Because, like you said, it's almost like she was our therapist at
Uh-huh.
times. We would call her at all hours of the day. And are you available? And do you mind if we call you, often? Because we're
Uh-huh.
up and down all around, our budget's all over the place. Basically, I would want to know her patience level, his or her patience level,
Uh-huh.
and experience working with people who are a little bit more needy, to be honest.
What age group is she in?
I would say she's in her mid 50s.
Okay. So Was that attractive to you or unattractive to you?
I
Or it
don't
didn't
think I
matter?
even I don't think I even thought about it. I don't think I even considered her age.
Uh-huh. So, but from the things that I've listened to you say is it sounds like you want somebody who's experienced with first-time home buyers,
Yes.
patient in sometimes repetitive questioning,
Mhm.
somebody who understands your needs and wants and can weed out unnecessary trips. Because at the beginning, it's exciting looking at homes. And then you're looking to eliminate homes as fast as possible because looking at something you're not going to be able to buy or don't buy kind of gets boring after a while. It's, you know, yeah, when you first start, it's exciting. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because the world all homes are possible until you can start weeding them down to what is probable. I
Yeah.
guess is what I would say.
Yeah, I liked that she was experienced, and I guess kind of subconsciously, I felt like she was a mother figure a little
Yeah.
bit, or like a big sister, someone who I felt like I could respect and someone who I could trust. And someone younger, my age, maybe they're not even a homeowner themselves, so or haven't bought a home because they're still renting, trying to work to afford a down payment, just like me. So I felt like this realtor owns a home in Nutley. She has sold so many homes in Nutley, worked with so many different types of buyers, and I felt that she had the clout to handle our situation, and the patience.
Okay. So I think we've probably gone longer than I thought we would go, and you probably thought the same thing. So why don't you give her one more last shout out? We'll wrap it up, and if you want to continue along this journey, we'll talk about the house looking since we've I think kind of covered choosing a realtor. So give her a shout out, and then we're going to end this up.
We had the best realtor, Deborah DeToli from Living, New Jersey, and I would recommend her to anyone, and her husband, Frank DeToli.
Good. Now, did you give her reviews on Zillow and Google?
Yes, I did. And also her husband, which we can talk about in the next episode. She was out of town when we closed. So her husband actually jumped in and joined us at closing. We had no representation. And I said, "Would you go with us?" Because he helped us with the inspection on the day of closing, or the last walkthrough.
Yeah.
And I said, "Would you go with us?" And he said, "Sure, I'll change all my plans today and I'll go with you." I said, "All right, that sounds good."
Good. All right. So, all right, we're going to wrap it up. Say
Okay.
goodbye. See you.
Bye.
Bye bye.